Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, what we have here is not so much a news item as confirmation of what we all already know. And that is that Police Scotland is not really a police force. It's a woke campaigner. It's an arm, really, of the SNP, and it's pushing political crimes more than, actual crimes. With this, it's bringing out its task force for hate crimes and things like that. So as soon as you experience some hate, the police will be obliged to investigate. But if, God forbid, you're burgled in your own home, you aren't going to see a policeman in a month of Sundays. Because they have to show this, the virtue signalling. They all have to wear the little rainbows and their little, I support the trans kids things. Because they're all pro mass sterilisation of children and things like that. It can't actually do its job. It cannot perform the one thing a police force is there to do. Protect the people. It won't protect them from criminals. It won't investigate crime. It won't do anything except police you for your thoughts and your words. But we'll take a look at this article, see what's going on, see why the trust in the police is evaporating at record levels. And it's hardly a surprise. Here goes. So, Police Scotland is no longer a force, but is now a woke campaigner, failing to tackle crime. And it is the SNP's fault, because of course it is. It's the SNP, of course, who amalgamated all the different police forces in Scotland to make them a single force, so that they only have one chief constable to bribe and keep under control, rather than lots of individual ones. And then they can exert political pressure on a very, very small group at the top. They don't have to sort of spread the problem wide. And that's exactly what they've done. And they've effectively turned what is a series of police forces all over Scotland into basically one single Gestapo, the policing wing of the SNP. Anyway, Tory Councilor Gary Mulvaney, who represents Helensburgh Central, attacked Police Scotland for focusing too much on being woke rather than stamping out antisocial behaviour in the region. And of course, this is one of the things you're going to notice as well, is that there's going to be a lot more vigilantism. You're going to get people taking the law into their own hands, because there's pointless calling the police. Police aren't going to be there, or even if they are there, they'll probably arrest you for being awkward in, phoning them. How dare you interrupt their tea break or something? They're certainly not going to investigate real crimes. So I think what will happen is you will get... let's just say that there'll be an upgrade to, neighbourhood watch schemes. And the neighbourhood watch scheme will become a neighbourhood policing scheme. And you will have vigilantes out, tackling antisocial behaviour, but doing so in what I would call an appropriate way. Big sticks and administering justice on the street. And then the police will say, well, that's not acceptable. Well, perhaps if the police were there occasionally to stop these yobs, then that would do something good. But until that happens, I think police may as well just pack up their bags and go and let the people administer justice. Because they're certainly not doing it. Anyway, Police Scotland have been blasted as a woke campaigner by an angry councillor who accused the organisation of no longer being a force. Tory politician Gary Mulvaney was scathing in his criticism of local officers in Helensburgh, who he accused of failing to tackle crime in the area, as he laid blame for this at the door of the SNP government. His attack on the force also comes amid them creating a hate crime division who will target those who fall foul of Humza Yousaf's controversial and long delayed legislation. This could include arrests and charges for misgendering and denying men access to women's toilets. Yeah, you're going to be arrested because you are going to stop a grown man walking into a room with young girls. Isn't the world a crazy place? Of course, we've already sorted out this hate crime, because the way the law on this hate crime bill is worded. Police are obliged by the law. They have absolutely got to investigate every single hate crime complaint, and all we do is we wait until day one, and on day one, millions of us up and down the entire breadth of the world, everywhere, regardless of where you are, just phone up Police Scotland and say you'd like to report a hate crime. And every time a politician opens their mouth, make that a hate crime and report it to the police, who are then legally obliged to do something about it. And absolutely overwhelm them. Day one, day two, day three, every day, millions of calls. Phone up 10 times a day, making complaints. They won't be able to do anything. It will completely grind them to a halt. And within a week, they just won't even be answering the hate mail the hate phone line. We go, no, we'll just take that off the hook and put it there and just never answer it, because they will be so overwhelmed. And that's how you beat this, because it's an absolutely stupid rule. And let me tell you, if a man was going into a toilet where my wife was, I would be telling him to, find somewhere else. Anyway, Mr. Mulvaney went on a lengthy rant in his column for the local newspaper, the Helensburgh Advertiser, as he criticised the lack of crime information he and fellow councillors received in their regular report. He wrote, "At our area committee last week, we received the normal Police Scotland report, and the thing that struck me was the lack of information on crime statistics and how the police were fighting crime in our patch. Instead, we read a lot about Police Scotland's pride and hate campaigns, both of which, by the way, are sins, aren't they? Anyway, which is symptomatic in how our police have gone from a force to a service, and now apparently to a woke campaigner. A PC used to be an officer on the beat, and now it's a way of working." Very good. Well done. Well done, sir, like that. He then pointed out that he'd been receiving reports about antisocial behaviour in the area, which seemed to be going unpunished. For now. And he said, "In contrast, I look around our area and I hear that retailers are concerned about shoplifting. The fact that we see 12-year-olds walking around openly vaping and drinking bottles of Buckfast, to say nothing of the foul language and the intimidating behaviour that we witness far too often around the train station." Now, like I say, all it takes is a few citizen volunteers, we'll call them citizen volunteers, forming a vigilance committee. And all they have to do is go out of an evening and find out who these yobs are, and dissuade them from doing it again. And then when they do it again, dissuade them harder. And then they won't do it a third time if they know exactly what's happening. And as long as you know, you get them and you take them home. But you throw them into the house after they've had a good talking to. And you let the parents sort of sit there and mop up the remains, as it were. And you tell them if they do it again, they'll get it harder. And of course, you now know where they live. And that's all it takes, isn't it? A little bit of vigilance. And you can wipe up the crime yourself, because the police aren't going to do it. Anyway, he laid the blame of all these problems at the door of the SNP, because of course it is. I suppose none of this is too great a surprise, he said, when we see the SNP's soft-touch justice system allowing nearly 100,000 criminals, including shoplifters, domestic abusers and ex-offenders, to escape prosecution and get a slap on the wrist with a warning. Well, we saw the guy, I mentioned it before. A man smacks a woman in the face in front of a police officer. He gets a slap on the wrist and told don't do it again, and sends him on his way. What the hell have you got to do to be arrested? A man punches a woman in the face, breaks the skin, bruises her, and the police just let him go. Why? Because the man was in a dress and they didn't want to be seen as being, hate crime or anything. I'd be biased, I'd be a bit phobic if I arrested him. He's committed a crime. He might have been wearing a dress, but he's committed a crime. Is that where we are with the police now? Put on a dress and you can get away with anything. Seems to be. They've got no balls. This is the trouble. The irony is, these women in a dress, the pretendy Wendy's, seem to still have more balls than the police. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Anyway, his comments were put to local Chief Inspector Alan Dixon. He might be dicks on, but for the rest of the police, it's dicks off, isn't it? Who claimed that he would not be apologising for the local work he does, He ought to be. He doesn't do any work. He says that Police Scotland exists to serve all people of all backgrounds within our communities. Fine. Including those who are victims of crime, I would have thought. He says that we work to combat and stamp out hate crime is vital in how we achieve that. Define hate. Define hate crime. And what about all the other crime? You seem to be obsessed with hate crime, i.e. protecting the one tiny little group, but screw everybody else. How about get rid of the hate crime bill and just tackle all crime? Is that a novel idea, or is it just me? Or maybe we should just abolish the police and let natural justice take its course and let people go out there. And when these yobs do things, the villagers rise up, pitchforks and flaming torches, and deal with the offenders in the appropriate manner. Certainly, you'd need to buy some more rope, and there'd be a lot of dangling from lampposts, but at least the crime rate would reduce massively. Certainly more than with these wankers in the police failing to do their job. Anyway, I shall stop there, round off, and come up. When I was young, the police were something to be feared. Quick, cops coming, quick, Rozzers, it's the Rozzers. Nowadays, you just don't give a shit, do you? They're not going to do anything. They lack a spine. If you're doing 31 in a 30 zone, they'll have you. If you misgender someone, they'll have you. But if you're sitting there as a man punching a woman in the face, they're not interested. Burgle someone's house, can't be bothered. Shoplifting, is it under 200 quid? Yeah, you're not even going to bother turning up. It's no wonder crime is going through the roof. And it's no wonder youngsters, the young, are getting away with so much because they've got no fear. They've got no respect. And where a cop used to come in and they would arrest you and they'd take you and they'd make your day hell. Nowadays, I'm like, well, I ain't going to bother turning up. And so they get away with it. And there's no limits on the actions. Of course, you don't catch these young. These guys, all these young kids, 11, 12 and whatever, committing this. They're all going to be gangsters. They're all going to be villains their whole life. Their lives destroyed because nobody's saying no now. And that is why I think, local communities need to band together and make sure that these jobs are educated, as it were. Get them young. Educate them. Make sure they don't do it again. And if they keep doing it, educate them. Educate where they live. They'll soon change their tune. And what are the police going to do? They're not going to do anything, are they? Police aren't going to do anything because you're doing their bloody job. We need a police force that is suitable for the people, not just suitable for a tiny, tiny minority of the people. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you like what you're seeing here on the channel, do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, stay vigilant. Bye.